stuff. And here we are. Whoa, first, second, nice. I see new names. It's and come on. Are you kidding me? It is the one and only Grumpy Penguin, and it is Wednesday, September 15th, 2021, and welcome to another episode of Camera and Flask. Hello, gentlemen. How are you?
Good. How
Excellent.
are you guys? Happy birthday, Jem. We got to say at the top of the show.
Absolutely.
Best.
Thank you, sir.
Probably don't want to drop the number, but
I'm okay.
It's a big number.
it's another year.
It's a
It'll
big
make
number.
a lot of noise when you
Year
drop
life.
that.
Yeah, it's a big number. It's a milestone for sure. I don't have a real thing about age, and I definitely feel younger than the age that I have turned, but it's a big one. Let's just say it's not 40. And there you go. All right. So what are we doing today? We're gonna have a drink. We know Caleb's still on the what do you call it? You're on the wagon. You're on the wagon right
Elimination.
now.
Yeah. The eat nothing but things that are boring.
Right. No pizza.
Thing. Yeah. I'd say the worst part about it is the distribution of what you have to eat. It's not just meat and vegetables. It's on a pie chart, this much meat, this much vegetables. That's the part that sucks the most. Half of everything you eat has to be green or vegetables. So that's right.
Okay,
Almost halfway there.
Does
Been
food
good.
coloring count? Can you take like some vodka and
right.
put some green food coloring in there? I can make
Green
a lot of
steak.
things green. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. I like that.
There's definitely a lot of green hot sauces and things like that, right? You
That's
could
true.
Do that.
That's true.
We could make it
100%.
happen. All right, beautiful.
Yep.
All right, well, let's start with Ben then. Ben, what are you having to drink today?
Well, I've realised that I haven't got very much interesting. I've got a really nice beer in the fridge, but it's not good for this time of day.
No.
So what I'm on is a drink that you're certainly familiar with, Jem.
Oh, there,
come on,
I know.
come on,
Oh,
come
there
on.
it is. Oh, yeah.
And I haven't got anything to mix it with. This is Becherovka, which is a sort of Czech spirit, and normally you'd have this with tonic. So Becherovka and tonic beton, which also means concrete. So I'm just having it neat with a load of ice, which I do like this.
Nice.
I can drink
I'm
this
jealous.
Make you sleep. All right.
Delightful.
And you're having water today, sir, right?
Water and some
Coffee.
old coffee in a plastic
Doesn't
Starbucks
get more
cup.
exciting than that. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Love
Nice
it.
cold coffee.
I'm having one of my my B-Day presents. I'm going to open it right now. It's a Dalmore. It's a Portwood Scotch. So Portwood Reserve, matured in American white oak and finessed by hand. That sounds a little sketchy. By hand selected tawny port pipes.
Would
So
you
the
buy that
pipes-
on Wish?
So the port pipes hand finesse. It is a little sketchy. I hadn't read that before. Yeah, I bought this on Wish.
Right along. Does it come with a nut hole?
Yeah, it comes with a hat. It comes with a 6-inch nut hole. There you go. So this is it, and it is given to me by friends who are kind of cheeky. So I wouldn't doubt that there would be something wrong with it, but it is sealed, so I think we're going to be okay. And I'm going to pour some of that. Let us know in the chat what you're having to drink as well, and let's give some shout outs to everybody who's here. Who's here in the chat?
Well, first and foremost, Travis Patterson just gave you $50.
What?
He says start off.
What?
Wow.
Wait a
Party
second.
off right. Happy
I'm very
birthday.
old. I'm very
Yeah.
old, and so I don't see this. What is going on here? Are you kidding me, Travis? That is unbelievable. Thank you so much.
Wow.
Thank you.
Very sweet.
Well, that is definitely. I'm going to put that towards a new Glenlivet special edition, which is $59, and I'm going to pick that up actually because it was on my birthday list. I didn't get that one, so I'm going to buy it, and that money's going to go towards that. So very much appreciated.
Perfect.
So when you see me drinking that on the next Camera and Flask, Travis, you'll know that most of that bottle is from you. What were you going to say, Caleb? Sorry.
I was just gonna say it looks like we might have full sync, the full crew in this evening.
What?
We've got James, welcome. Ed came over from the stream. Awesome. Thanks for coming over, Ed. But we've got Alex Miner, G Wiz, 360 Grad, Grumpy Penguin,
Unbelievable.
Oliver, Rabid Tribble,
Yeah.
Roz.
Sky's here.
Small
Yep.
Brown Fox is
Sam.
here.
Yep.
I mean, this is the crew. This is the full shebang. Sky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then LH Photo and C space L, I think new, maybe. James, I think you've maybe been here before. James Spurn, at Horn. Nice to have you. Some good people here. First timer for LH Photo. So thanks for coming.
Beautiful.
Let's do this, Guy. Let's do it. So this is kind of a Q&A. This is about the chat. We'll get to our wish thing later. I've actually received both of my items, and whoa, come on, here it is. The bottle is complete. Get out of here. The Grumpy Penguin. Amazing. Okay. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And you'll have to let us know what kind of car you're working on now. Chris missed your stream today. Glad to be here. Glad to have you, Chris. And there you go. All right. So I got my wish items. I will say that surprisingly, they are very similar to what was promoted. But I never said this before. I ordered that camera, and then a day later, they told me the order was canceled and that they had run out of them. And then, of course, I went and looked again, and they had it again. But I had to pay a few more dollars for it. Not a lot.
Oh, boo.
Boo. We'll talk all about that. But they did show up, and they are here. So I know you've got one of three, Ben, so far.
Can we do the cheers thing and start drinking?
Oh, shit. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Cheers, everybody. To Wednesday. Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Thank
Cheers.
you,
Happy birthday,
gentlemen.
Jam.
Cheers. Thank you.
Grumpy Penguin, amazing car. Fiat Abarth. Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. Enjoy that.
And you're in the States, right, Grumpy? I think you are. So you're getting cars that, I would say that are not typical cars that you would see on U.S. roads, generally when I've seen stuff on your channel. Thank you, David. Yes, 6-string Brian. No NAB again this year. Boo-hoo. Cry, cry. But when you have
Big
all the
sad,
major camera...
as
Yeah,
my
when you have
sister
all
would
the
say.
major camera... Yes. When you have all the major camera companies drop out, it's really virtually impossible to run a show like that.
So I wasn't
think
watching. Is that what
we
happened?
were-
Did everyone
We were
pull out?
trendsetters on that front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sony first. And
Exactly.
that, by the way, if you've ever been to the Central Hall for NAB, Sony's booth is about, it's like a good eighth of the whole floor.
Yep.
And there it is again. This happened to Ben last time. It's just going to keep happening. Thank you, Ben. The other Ben, Roland. And then I think Panasonic was second, and then the other camera. Because really what happens is when one Japanese camera company drops out, basically they all drop out. And then, yeah. Yes. Would we say that Ross Video was the nail in the coffin? We wouldn't, but I thought it would be fun to say that anyway. Caleb, I heard you had Roger Deakins on your live stream. Is that true? Little birdie told
Yeah.
me.
Well,
Is that it? Come on, tell me.
it was a story I was telling the guys before the stream. Who said it? Gee whiz. I think Caleb has to lie down after having Sir Roger Deakins on his live show just now. Smiley face. So I'm just doing my thing, reading the comments rapidly, trying to get as many answered as possible, question-wise. And then there's a donation from Sir Roger Deakins. And immediately I'm like, this isn't real.
Yeah.
But my heart was like, but what if it is, Caleb?
Mm-hmm.
And so I got kind of like, I had to like take a moment almost and like, I don't want to be a dick if he's real. And that's actually Roger Deakins, which I doubt. But at the same time, all this is going through my head. He's got a podcast, right? That's
Yep.
like hip.
Yep.
I doubt he has anything to do with like recording it and publishing and marketing and all that. So this whole thing, I'm like, no, it can't be real. And then I checked it later on the stream. I'm like, no. And then when I saw in the chat, it was like, no. But there was a moment, just caught off guard, no sleep or very little sleep for me the night before. So yeah, don't do that. Sleep well before you stream. In case
I
a poser
oftentimes
shows up.
am in the car and I'll say, play latest episode of Team Deacon's podcast. How funny would it be if it came on? Here we go. Sir Roger Deakins
There
is here.
he is.
How funny would it be if you tuned into the Team Deakins podcast and it said, I was just hanging out, going to some
I
live
donated to
streams,
this nice young man on YouTube.
And
then he started trashing me on another stream.
Not trashing. Not trashing at all. Just, can you imagine if an excerpt of your show was actually on the podcast? I don't know. I'm glad to have you.
That would confirm
Sir Roger Deakins, I will say that that we appreciate you, and we mean that. So whether it is you or is not you, thank you for all your contributions to the industry and for being a stand-up guy. You're kind of like the Charlie Watts of the cinematography world, if that means anything. There you go.
That's a nice analogy. I like that, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Beautiful. Well, feel free to chime in as we start our conversation about Tuesday, September 14th, 2021. I've been talking about the fact that portrait mode on an iPhone for stills would eventually come to video. It was just a matter of processing power and things like that. And I think with Apple's announcement of the iPhone 13 Pro yesterday, we are seeing what I would consider a 1.0 of that technology. Apparently only works in 1080p. Apparently, I know Stu Maschwitz is going a little bonkers about it, only at 30 frames per second, which sort of defeats the purpose of saying it's cinematic mode. And 24 frames per second, by the way, takes less processing power than 30, so I'm not quite sure how that works. But
well, is the ProRes thing that they also release, is that only 30?
That's up to 30. I don't. I know that 24 is supported with certain things, like it is on the current iPhones. I would like to see whether or not this is true for cinematic mode. Generally and historically, Apple doesn't change things like frame rates when they release an iPhone with a firmware update or a new version of the iOS. They could definitely do it, but we'll have to see once it gets released on Friday whether or not it's true that it's only 30p for the cinematic mode. And if you don't know what that is, and you've been under a rock, essentially what it means is that they're doing, the LiDAR, there's depth data inside of the camera, and they're playing some trickery in there. And what they can do is allow you to, whether you're shooting or in post, change your focus point. So you can rack focus. You can essentially simulate a shallow depth of field, and that's interesting, Sky. I wonder if the PAL version will be in 25p as well. But these cameras, is that what they do with iPhones in other countries? I don't think they do. They don't play the PAL NTSC game. They just do that. So I would like to see what people think. Thank you, Huevos, for the birthday wishes. What do you think? What do people think about this whole thing with this new iPhone?
All right. Did you see the? Yeah, it's cool. Did you see the film, like the Whodunit? I think that was actually called Whodunit that they did with it. So it was interesting the way they got it, because you had quite good separation with the way the lighting was anyway. So the way the AI was picking it up, if that was AI that was doing it, it was obviously getting all the help that it could. But there was something just weird with it. Did it not look like it had been shot? Considering this was all cinematic, the whole point of this thing was cinematic mode. That it was all in some really high shutter speed.
Yeah,
no
it
one
did
else
look like
noticed
that.
this.
No, it did.
It was
the Greg Fraser stuff didn't. The Catherine Bigelow stuff didn't look like that as much, in my opinion.
That Whodunit thing, which was the headline thing that I saw being bandied around everywhere yesterday afternoon at the end of the announcement.
Yeah,
it was just really odd, because obviously then all the focus pulls are all then looking really kind of stuttered as well. So it just seemed like an odd thing to have done. Why to have shot it in that kind of high shutter speed and just making everything look very non-cinematic with all that lovely lighting that they'd obviously done with it.
Well, the problem is that the app itself, at least right now, I think, the camera app does not let you lock in a shutter speed. You have to go to something like Filmic Pro or some third-party app to do that. So will there be API, and will there be something that developers can do to tap into that? Because maybe that's what we have to wait for, is we have to wait for Filmic Pro to give us the additional control that we need in order to use essentially cinematic mode. But maybe they're not gonna be able to tap into that. Any
I
thoughts?
doubt it very much. I think it'll be able to use Filmic Pro, and hopefully with the ProRes, but to be using the cinematic mode with the focus stuff, I doubt you'll be able to do it with that.
I have hopes that someday it'll happen, because Apple has worked with iFilmic Pro, or iFilmic, right?
Yeah,
That's the
Filmic
app.
Pro. Filmic
The one,
Pro.
the big
Yes.
one.
Yes,
Filmic
they
Pro.
have. Yes,
Like
they have
Filmic
worked
Pro.
with them. Yeah.
But yeah, so they've been a part of launches in the past, so they have a close relationship, and I wouldn't be surprised if we eventually see that. Or, I mean, it'd be amazing if Apple gave us that control in the native app, which part of me is like, no, they wouldn't do that. But at the same time, they've given us so much recently in the last several phones. Like, we can choose our frame rate.
Yep. So
And whatnot,
shutter speed. I just wish, it's very clunky in most of the apps that are iOS, where you want to lock in shutter, and then all you have to do is press one thing, and it breaks the locked shutter, basically.
Yeah.
And that's really frustrating. I don't know. I think that there's more to it than we're seeing. It's obviously going to evolve and get better. But the other thing that I think is they're on their way to what they're going to be doing with AR and all of that kind of stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, this is just the beginning.
This is
like
just
you
the
mentioned,
beginning.
like talked about it so many times, and it's just gonna get better. And I'm here for
Look
it.
at
It's
this.
gonna be
There it is.
bumpy, but
Come on, Ben. Thank you very much. Skipping the iPhone, cool phone, but I have a Ursa 12K on the way soon. I mean, I think that the other thing... Congrats. I think the other thing that will be really interesting is, using your phone as your main camera day in, day out is hard. And the reason it's hard is because it's also your phone. So you're getting SMS, you're getting Slack, you're getting phone calls and emails and everything else. But in reality, what cinematic mode does potentially do is, if you dedicated that phone to that, or you just shut those things off while you're using it, you could technically do this for live streaming and for Zoom and things like that, and you would be simulating that shallow depth of field without having to have a mirrorless camera. Now, granted, it's still $1,000, but it's all of those other things as well. So it'll be interesting to see where we go. But I think if they do come out with a virtual reality headset and everything else, this all just dovetails into whatever that is. For all we know, the iPhone slides into the headset or something. We don't know what's going to happen as time goes on. But I don't know. I think it's pretty interesting.
I just had a crazy, terrible thought.
Yeah. Tell me.
What if they never would? But what if Apple came out with a camera? Like, what would that camera be like?
Oh, I have one. Well, I have an Apple first digital camera. They used to make digital cameras. They weren't what
Back
we
when
know
they made
now.
like printers and all the other stuff.
The battery lasted, I shit you not, for like 12 minutes. And you could take like 6 photographs on the thing before it died. I agree with Grumpy Penguin, by the way. I think the big mistake that they made, which they did not make on the iPad mini, is they're sticking to the Lightning port. And here we are, that should have been USB-C. It was time.
For sure.
For sure.
So I think the next version will. I'm pretty sure there's some kind of legal wranglings with the EU at the moment about forcing them to do it. I can't remember why.
Yikes. I wouldn't be surprised if they were going to. I bet they were going to do a lot more. But with the whole chip thing, they're like, you know what? Let's just make a couple tweaks. Because this should have been the big, different phone. Right? This is the 13, right? I just saw the first time about all this morning. So usually every other year, it's like, oh. So we did 11 Pro, which is what I have. Then they did 12. So this should have been like the big refresh.
Well, they say 12 was the big refresh because it got 5G and some other things. So that's what they're not really talking about it from the camera standpoint, but they're saying this is an incremental upgrade. So they're touting it as a big thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But I feel like USB-C would have been this year. They
do.
did it with their iPads.
I think I'm waiting until 14. I mean, there might be a reason once I start seeing stuff, but if I'm going to get another one, I'm still an iPhone XS, and I think I'm sticking with it.
I'm Android, but I would seriously go to iPhone again now, because the big limitation for me was always the dual SIM thing, but that's now solved with the eSIMs. Yeah. So I'm happy to go back. I use a Mac and a PC for work stuff, so I'm not kind of tied into any one system. But yeah, it would make life easier for me, I think. But yeah, it's such a lot of money, and I always buy phones cash. I never put them on the contract with the provider of the network. So I think it needs to be really good, and I agree. I think all this stuff's really exciting, and the next iteration I think will be really good. Because then the other thing is that you look at the base models, and they're all expensive. Everything's expensive. But then if you start going up to the huge amount of storage, that if you want to, everyone's great, it's got ProRes in it, great, but that's going to eat through the memory in it extremely quickly. Yeah. And if you're going to USB-C, are we going to be able to be looking at plugging in those little the Samsung T5 drive and with a little, you don't think
that
so?
Is not the way.
No.
Apple work. I've got my Android kind of world head on. No, I know. Yeah,
100% if it's another company, but not Apple.
Not Apple.
Okay.
Not Apple. No.
I don't even think you can do plug in a drive now to do anything.
Really?
Right? I thought you can on USB-C ones.
Well, I mean, the iPads are a different story, but like an iPhone.
Yeah. No, I don't think so.
Yeah. So.
It is. Somebody will correct us if we're wrong about that. Yes, Colin, some Wish stuff is turned up, but not everything. 360 grad.
Have a good one, Ben. He's got to run.
Yeah, he said he's got to go. I said bye too.
Bye, Ben.
See, 360 grad, the technique you talked about is semantic masking and was already integrated into iPhone 12 shortly before the release, but not used within the photos and videos. So maybe it's not like the LiDAR cameras with depth data. I don't know. There's something happening. If you've ever used Skylum before and their products with a lot of AI with photography, it's unbelievable. I mean, you can take a photograph with somebody outside and it will instant mask, and you can replace skies, and you can do things like that. It's getting pretty bonkers in terms of what's possible. And it doesn't necessarily have to have depth data, and I'm sure a lot of it just has to do with, like, look at the technology that's starting to happen in the higher end cameras. The new camera, which is the camera that somebody just released a camera. Oh, it's the R3 from Canon.
Yeah, Canon.
Where it's like, it's forget about like people, dogs, and cats. It has like bird detection now, which is crazy. So it can detect birds. So they're just putting all of this AI into it so it can recognize different types of animals and different types of things. And also one of these where it'll actually, unlike the technology in the iPhone 13 Pro, which is when somebody turns and there's another person in the frame, it's automatically going to try to rack to that person. With the R3, what it does is it can actually latch onto a person without even seeing their face. So it's not face detect, it's basically people detect. So I don't know. There's a lot of advancements.
5 and the 6 do that as well, don't they?
Yeah, to a degree, but I think they just keep, just like Sony is, they just keep getting better and better at it. So
all these technologies, man.
It's crazy.
If we get like the fact that it's following, or the Canon has it can use your eye for autofocus and stills. Someday it's going to be nuts. It's going to be nuts if we get autofocus. I mean, imagine it an ARRI with an EVF, and you can use your eye, or you just have an operator, and then another guy's got a headset, and he's just looking at stuff. I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah. It is crazy. And
have you seen any reviews of the 3's eye focus yet? So I used to have the EOS 3. No,
right.
I've seen I've sort of skimmed through a couple of reviews. So I had the EOS 3 the film camera EOS 3 from more years than God, that's scary. 25 years ago, maybe something like that. And it worked to an extent. So it had multiple focus points across the frame. Wherever your eyeball was pointing, it would kind of get somewhere close some of the time in the right conditions.
Right.
But the principle of it was great. It just wasn't quite there. But it was a brilliant camera. So I'm intrigued to see how it now works with the R3. It's an amazing bit of kit, that camera.
Yeah. Are you taking the piss, Robert, with the F1 car AF? You're taking the piss.
No, that is right. They've integrated that into for the motorsports thing, haven't they? They've put that into the R3. So it now will track vehicles as well. It'll spot a motorbike or a car or points within that. I'm pretty sure that's a thing.
Legit.
Yeah, amazing. And the other thing, just while we're talking about the 3, is that Canon's, and I can't remember what it's called, but their little XLR audio module, because the R3 is now the first Canon camera that's come out with this Sony-esque smart shoe.
Oh, no way.
So you can
That's a thing now?
Yeah, so you can put this. Yeah. That's a thing now. So they've brought out this adapter which has got the dual XLR, phantom power, the whole thing, very much like the Sony one. Now it will work on legacy cameras, but you've got to then run a cable out to the jack.
Is that a Canon one though? I thought the one that I saw was the one that we saw up on News Shooter a few weeks ago, which is going to be made for
Tamron.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Sorry. The Tamron one.
But you got my hopes up. I was on News Shooter.
Sorry. But the Tamron one, I was meaning more in that's the first camera that's got the smart port. So that will go onto the R3 with no cable.
Yeah.
Which will use the smart connections within, so you're getting a fully digital signal from that back into the camera. In the same way that the Sony ones do.
CL says, stream dying or just me? And by dying, do you mean that we're just completely boring and you just want to snooze? What do you mean by dying? I think it's still working.
It keeps cutting out for me.
There it is. Max headroom. I might have to... I don't know what's going on. It does keep cutting out for you?
Yeah.
Wow, this could be a birthday surprise. This is like old days. It's like Lightstream. Look at this. You see me? I'm jumping. I'm going to go ahead and the one thing I can do is I can reset the Blackmagic device. So just you guys hang on for a second.
Oh, jeez.
It's an 80s.
What is this show? What is that movie? It's a terrible movie with the guy that played Anakin in episode 2 and 3.
What?
Jumper.
Say that again?
Jumper. The movie Jumper.
Oh, Jumper. Yes, I know Jumper.
Like,
yes.
They all get all twitchy and stuff.
Yeah,
and jump
they get
around.
all weird. Well, hopefully I'll be okay with the reset. We'll see how it goes. Chippity choppity. Amazing.
Yeah, Tascam, the CAXLR2D.
Yes.
And don't forget to use the second S in News Shooter when you're typing that website in.
Why? What comes up if you don't?
The domain is for sale for $7,000, but it just made me smile because I was like,
"Come on, Eric! Come on,
that.
Matt! Just buy it."
Just weird to type that out. News 2S's Shooter.
For me, the whole stream is laggy from time to time. It's unusual. I usually do a speed test at the beginning. I've got good bandwidth, so I don't know why we're having issues.
I'm watching it now, and it looks okay. At least right now.
Yeah.
There's been a few things. I ended up being the delay on me was huge. I ended up going out and coming back in again to solve that. So it's been weird all night.
Really?
That was early on. Yeah. Now everyone's blurry.
Now everyone is blurry.
Is that true?
Let me go to max resolution and see what happens.
Really? You guys are clean to me.
It looks fine. I just put it at 1080p. It looks great from here.
Nobody is smoking anything. What just happened?
Mannequin on fire?
No, mannequin on fire.
Mannequins in the networking room again.
It's one of those stupid. I got some stuff for my birthday over the weekend, and I have some lights and stuff that's like an aurora borealis effect in the background. So
The bluey.
yeah, right. Oh, duh, it's reverse right there. And there's a little bit actually over there.
When are we
going to
get a studio tour video on your channel?
Oh, I need to do that. Yeah, God forbid I actually create some
a
content.
video, not a stream. We need a proper video.
A proper video. Let me take you around and see what's happening. Yeah, I'll play some vinyl.
Did this whole series building up and then
got some good vinyl for my birthday. I was happy about that, so that was good.
What did you get?
Got OK Computer. Who's next? So I got some other stuff. Yeah, it's good. Some good albums. Things I like. So, yeah.
Chris has a question.
Let's go.
First question a little bit. Putting together my first camera rig with the ZV-E10. Any budget-friendly small monitors y'all would recommend? ZV-E10.
Nice to have you here, by the way. And good luck with the new move into the new house. And thank you, Pat. I really appreciate it. So ZV-E10. I don't really know much.
That's the new tiny. It's like
Sony
a
one?
A60. No. It's the popular Sony with the built-in zoom lens that everyone loves.
Yeah.
And then they took that and an A6400 and smashed them together. So it's an interchangeable APS-C tiny camera. Yeah. I don't know. Well, Andy Cine makes good, cheap, small monitors. I'm really enjoying the Shinobi. I've been using that a lot.
Same. Yeah. I love that thing. Really,
$300.
Yeah, it's solid.
Lightweight.
And the
How
operating
much is
system
small
on it's
HD
really
down
good.
to? I mean, I think
still
small HD has the best UI probably, but how much is
by
a small
far.
HD now?
But my problem with small HD, my only gripe.
Yeah.
I guess I have two gripes with them right now. Number one, resolution on their small stuff. I haven't purchased one since the Focus, so maybe they fixed this. But oh my goodness, that is a problem for me because I think they're still 720p on a lot of their small ones, right? And unless they fix that.
Yeah.
Thing number two is the HDMI ports. Their custom corner thing.
I know.
I just want to plug in my own full size to full size. Yep. Not that like corner special cable situation.
Yep.
On camera monitors. What do we got here?
No, but I think Andy Cine is a good way to go. And what's that other company that is essentially equivalent to them that you've reviewed?
Feel World.
Good? Feel World.
And Port. What's the new one?
Good.
Is it
it's
Port
a quarter inch nut hole. Do you feel good?
Yeah.
Port keys. I got a quarter inch nut hole. And I feel World.
Put your port. No.
I'm pretty sure Portkeys have a new one out because I'm pretty sure New Shooter and Cine D have reviewed it in the last fortnight. So that's maybe worth having a look at. Sub 200, I think.
Colin, NAB is canceled, by the way. It's not just brands bailing out now. It's a no-go for 2021.
We were so ahead of the curve on that.
Oh yeah. Thank goodness. Can you
360? 360, yeah.
Yeah, there's tons of reviews on all these monitors. And then the great thing is that, you go to Amazon and you can, with those monitors especially, there are lots of reviews. So you can really get down to the nitty-gritty and find out where people are having do not discount reviews on places like Amazon. If there are a lot of reviews, and remember, if it shows up in the beginning and it says 4.5 stars, spend a good 5-10 minutes scrolling down and looking at them because you'll find the real deal pretty quickly. And then sometimes, usually if you go to the first page and it's 4.5 stars and everybody is like 5 stars, 4.5, 4 stars, 4.5, I've found historically that's been a pretty good bet for a product I'm looking for. But some of them.
Do you want to know?
Tell me.
I have spent way too much money on Amazon. I think we could all say that, probably.
Yes.
Oh, but I have spent with the channel and all this stuff. It's messed up. I never want to know how much in total has gone to them. But because I've done so much shopping, and a lot of it is like finding affordable good stuff that's video related, I have a system that I've discovered that has yet to fail me when it comes to something not sucking. So it's a couple things if you're Amazon shopping.
Okay, I'm ready.
Oh,
I like how you
geez.
said couple.
Full
I said
screen.
couple,
Okay.
and then you had 3 fingers up. So I'm ready. Let's go.
Here we go. I guess I'll just do this. So
Okay.
Step 1, there has to be a decent amount of reviews. If there's like 6 reviews, don't do it. So find something with a lot of reviews. This monitor has, over 1,000. You click on that number, to get down to reviews. So clicking there, immediately look right here where it says customer reviews 4.5 out of 5. Rule number 1 is see the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The first 3, this is like the thing that has made all the difference in the world. The first 3 need to go go down. You don't want it to be 70% 5, and then the next percentage is like 1 star. So for example, here it's 70 for 5, 4 stars 15%, 3 stars 6%. So that's good. It's slowly going down to the lowest star rating. If it says, even if it says 90% 5-star, and then the next biggest percentage is 1 star, that's a red flag. It should gradually go down, and that has like been like the biggest thing for me. Because it's fine if a lot of people like it, but if the next one is a 1 star, that's almost every time I've done that, there's been one, like the 1 star reviewers are right.
Yeah.
So just random little thing. That's like my little Amazon rule for myself.
Love it. Chris, I have downloaded my Amazon purchase history into an Excel file because I have to do my taxes every year, and it has that much of an effect on things. It's disgusting. It's actually barfable. It's how much, especially with the pandemic.
100%.
The
like
pandemic has
lifetime.
just, it's like insane.
They do a
There's
lifetime
times where
pattern?
I'm like, there's more than one product that's arriving at my house per day. It's really sick. It's
I think the thing that brought it home was, because obviously I wasn't really in the UK last year through the pandemic travel bans and all the rest of it. So I was just in the Czech Republic really for the whole year. And we can't really use it here. Now with Brexit, you really can't use it from the UK. We can get it from Germany, but it takes forever. It's really hard to navigate. It's not great. So I don't really use it. And there's a few sort of smaller companies of similar service. But we're back. I think we're back. But when I've been traveling back to the UK a lot this year, and I've spent weeks in the UK, I'm buying stuff all the time because I reactivate my Prime account when I'm in the UK for a month, whatever. And it's just that convenience of having stuff next day it's next day to where my mum lives, which is where I'm normally staying there, which is absolutely in the middle of nowhere. It's just on a Sunday delivery, which here nothing gets delivered at a weekend. Nothing.
Yeah.
You can't get that. So it's just
really?
It's an addiction.
Oh,
No,
I can order something on like Sunday morning at 6:30 a.m. and it shows up at my house before 10 p.m. that same day on a Sunday. It's ridiculous. And I live in the fucking country, like country, surrounded by cows and farms and stuff. And I can literally wake up and say, I want a portable air conditioner in my house because it's going to be hot, and it will show up the same day. It's insane.
But you know what? There's something about it when you've not been, because you get into that and that whole thing with Sunday delivery and stuff, and then having not been in the UK for a year, and then you come back, and then I order something on Saturday, thinking, well, I'll get that Monday, Tuesday, I'll be fine. The thing, because it's going to be here at whatever 11 a.m. on Sunday morning, and my instant thought was, that poor delivery driver, why is he having to work on a Sunday?
Yeah. But
there's a little bit of me that kind of doesn't.
No, I get that, but
you know what
working.
I mean. It's kind of.
I guess they want to.
Oh yeah.
It's probably saved the U.S. Postal Service, to be honest with you, because they deliver a lot of the stuff on Sunday, which they're not supposed to do. I mean, it is a crazy thing.
I feel awful for them, those poor drivers.
I do too. Yeah. I know. Triple J, Fake Spot and Review Meta are two very good Chrome/Safari extensions to help you determine how legitimate/illegitimate Amazon reviews are. Great.
Oh, cool. Never heard of that.
Yeah. Hey, David. Good to have you. Drive safely. Yep. Okay, good. So, Robert, are you asking a question here? Lightweight gear needs for 35-day Camino del Santiago hike, helping speech professor friend to do interviews, APS mirrorless 2 lenses, or have you decided on this? It sounds like you know what you're getting. Interested to know what your APS mirrorless is, but yeah.
I've been thinking about similar things this week, actually, and handheld stuff, and sort of working out the importance of stabilization there and trying to not take sticks for something like that. So I've been looking at a job which is coming up, and we've just been looking at the logistics of how to do it, which is a 10-day cycle trek, and the whole thing's going to need to be documented. So it's making a documentary about this 10 days out on the road, and properly wildernessy stuff. So we've been looking at how to do that, and I've been looking at R6, R5 for that. Obviously, I'm in the Canon world, so that's sort of me. But having that stabilization, and with those lenses, having with the lens and the sensor stabilization, opens up a huge amount. And then sort of what you're doing with audio as well is kind of something to consider. Is that what you need to take with you for that? But it's very much what we've been considering.
Interesting.
Nice. Yeah.
Crazy. Robert
Crazy
looks
indeed.
like he's going to get a 1/4-inch nut hole to do a walking stick thing. That could work out pretty well. Just remember your dongles. A few down, and you'll be fine. Ridiculous. So what do you think? We're having these conversations right now about ZVE 10s or ZVE 10s, and we're talking about all of this stuff with iPhones and things like that. Do you think with the AI and the stuff that's in these phones that any camera manufacturers will start to make some things that are more iPhone-esque? And I'm not talking about the phone capabilities. I'm not talking about messaging and things like that. But do you think we're going to see something similar from, either
Sony,
a camera only?
Sure.
Yeah, Sony. You think so?
Without question.
Sony 100%.
Yeah.
They've got their phone. They're trying to get people on this whole our phone with our camera. It's legit, man.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be the next autofocus thing. Remember when we were all autofocus for video? I would never use that. And then here we are, and people flip out when a camera comes out and it doesn't have, good autofocus.
Yep.
That's 100% the next thing. That's the next thing. No question.
So
Lenses go away.
Right. You're thinking that we're essentially going to get a phone-sized thing that may not have phone capabilities, but is essentially what's going to replace a segment of the market, let's say the $500 to $1,000 segment of the market for camera stuff. And we're going to start using it for things, potentially.
I have no idea what the price point, or if it'll be in prosumer or pro, but eventually that's what everything will be. I mean, I could see it starting with Sony, doing I don't know what. Yeah, I guess prosumer is probably where it'll first land. But eventually, we're all going to have a little box, and you can swipe through lenses, and just like on your iPhone, it's essentially take your iPhone portrait mode,
right?
But in a camera, you swipe through, and you can mess around with the look.
I think there's interesting stuff with the AI for sure. I think the thing that's the difference, obviously, between the phone stuff and proper cameras, let's call them that, is the reason why they're doing this. And we're not talking about actually this selective focus thing that we're talking about, and this artificial shallow depth of field this whole cinematic thing, and the AI that's using that for where the focus is going. We're not actually focusing, remember, we're actually blurring everything else. everything's in focus because the sensor's that big and the lenses are that big. So you've got total depth of field in everything that you're doing anyway. So we're talking about different physics. The problem that's being created to solve, if that makes sense. It's a different thing when we start talking about full frame cameras because depth of field's a different thing. We have that already. So that kind of post focus stuff we're not going to be able to get into. But what's really interesting to me is the way that it's looking at scenes, this whole thing about the AI into where someone's looking and how that's going to actually operate the autofocus and the improvements in that is interesting. But we're getting pretty close to that anyway. We've already been talking about that earlier, about all these new focus modes for animals, for when people's heads are turned, all of that. We're pretty close to that. What's really interesting to me is when it's this analyzing of footage for post is how much of the post process could you automate? If that's then being able to recognize particular types of scenes, particular types of shots, which you're already getting in Resolve and the other NLEs in terms of they're going through and doing the facial recognition, and they're already starting to organize things by that. To actually being able to start creating edits. What's it called? That thing in Resolve, the boring warning.
The cut. Oh, no.
No, it's within the cut thing, but it'll go. This is boring now. We've been on this shot for too long, or this whole thing's lacking pace, or whatever it is. That you're going to be able to stick all this in. I mean, not narrative stuff, but I would see there's a lot of potential for a lot of corporate stuff or a lot of promo stuff that you can just chuck all the footage in and it's going to spit something out. And I've seen this in a phone app. That some party, some sort of boys' weekend at a cabin that we did, and this guy shot loads of stuff on his phone. And then he showed me this edit. I was going, "That's really cool. What did you edit that in?" So I just pressed a button and did it itself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think what's interesting right now is probably the two things that are separating this technology from the big boy technology is arguably sensor size and low light performance. But clearly, with each iteration of the smartphones, the sensor size is getting bigger, not necessarily APS-C size or even micro four thirds, but so is the technology they're building into the phone to essentially compensate for the fact that there isn't as large of a sensor, because the low light performance on a smartphone today is light years ahead of what it was 4 or 5 years ago even. And so to me, I think we can say whatever we want about how it's not a professional camera and this and that, but I honestly think that a lot of this technology, when we talk about AI and we talk about this form factor and everything else, is along the lines of what Caleb is saying, is that, we could see in 3 to 5 years a situation where you could take out a 7-inch smartphone form factor product, and it could have almost ahead of its time the LiDAR thing. It will be it might be combinations of technology of instant masking, depth data, all of these different things. And what you can do is you can say, here's how I want to shoot this scene now. But the company that can really spearhead this is actually Apple, because what they can do is they can say, we can now tie all of the data that the phone is capturing into Final Cut Pro. And then you have all of that additional control, because what will happen is you get to a scene and there's 3 people in the scene, and all of a sudden those little boxes show up on the different people, and you say, well, do you want to change the focus of who's in the scene, or where do you want to change the focus? Which completely changes your approach to editing as well, because you're not just making editorial choices that are non-linear choices. You're now jumping into a particular shot, and you're making choices in terms of what's in focus, what's not, relighting things, doing other things. I mean, it can get pretty crazy as long as the data is being transferred from the camera system into the NLE. And Blackmagic could do it too. For sure.
I mean, that was very much the Litro thing. I mean, that was all of that. And then there's a guy asked me a
Litro,
question.
Sorry, not LiDAR, Litro. You're right. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, there was a mate of mine he's a very, very bright guy that I was at school with, and I met him for the first time in years, and we were talking about stuff, and he'd been on holiday. He'd taken loads of really nice pictures, and he was going, well, you've got the bigger camera, and I get that when you're getting that shallow depth of field thing, that why that's happening, the physics of why that's happening, and obviously when the iPhone does it, it's artificially making that. And we were talking about it, but really, does it matter? What's the advantage from doing it your way? And you're going, yeah, but it's physics do it that way. This is all wrong. But the end result's kind of the same. And you say, at the moment it's still not quite, but it's going to be, isn't it?
But in the hands of people who understand how cameras work, they can just leverage that technology and say, we understand what it looks like when we're shooting at this field of view at this aperture, and we can make decisions, and you can do that very effectively. I don't know if there's anything wrong with that. I'm not saying that phones are going to replace or these devices can replace things, but it's
it's where it's going to go, isn't it? And that whole thing is our understanding of the physics of how light goes through a lens and how that then projects and how our depth of field works. It's going to go out the window. No one's going to care. No one really.
Not.
No one's going to know.
And it's not even out the window. That's how it works for the last 120 years. And now technology has come so far that they can take all of those things that are the language of cinematography and filmmaking. They can put it into a device, and they can allow somebody who has very little. They still won't know how to light. They still won't know how to do audio well. They still won't know how to tell a story. I mean, these are all skills that that are not going to be automated in the process. But I'd be thrilled to have something in my pocket that gave me some of those capabilities when I wanted to use them. And I think that they can play around. There's no way in 5 to 10 years from now where we're not going to be able to pull a device that's this size out of our pocket and say, oh yeah, let's put it in anamorphic mode, and it just simulates anamorphic mode. Right now we're getting this bullshit rack focus that looks like the lens is breathing. It doesn't need to look like it's breathing. It doesn't have to breathe. I mean, it's like all of those things can get sorted out very, very quickly in 2 to 3 years, and then it's just to the moon. I mean, it's going to be.
Yeah, there's no question.
If you embrace it, it's going to be very exciting. And if companies like Apple and Blackmagic Design embrace it, then they can do very exciting things with this technology. And Blackmagic could absolutely do it because they don't give a rat's ass. They're not trying to make Arri Alexas. They're trying to make cameras that they want lots of people to use. And if they have to go down a different road to get to that point, they'll do it. I don't know what's going to happen. I
think it's going to be like Sony working with like NVIDIA or AMD.
Yep.
To make, but it's 100% because it's all it's going to be is shrinking processing power. That's all it's going to take. Like, I can show this real quick because this blew my mind. Everyone should check this out. Are you guys familiar with Corridor Crew?
No.
Corridor Crew. You should totally follow them. So. This is a channel. They make short films and stuff. This is their second channel. It's 5 million subs. So Corridor Crew follows like the crew, and they do crazy stuff like this. They took famous cartoon characters and turned it into real people using AI. So this is like a game character, right, from a game, and they use computers and AI to turn it into a person. And that's what it came up with.
Holy shoot!
Like that's a computer made that completely from scratch.
Unbelievable.
They didn't take a person's face and put it on. It literally, this person doesn't exist. This is not a real person. But it took that. It took this photo and it just turned it into a person. So it just takes forever. So
right.
It's gonna get there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All we need is some way for the camera to interface with the real world, and they'll easily be able to change lenses, focal length. They'll figure out distortion. Eventually, it'll get there. It's just going to be stages, right? Like first, it'll be, okay, we can do 4K, and we can blur out the background without weird artifacts. And then eventually, it'll get like really, really refined. But there's no question that's where it's headed.
Yeah.
So, and anyone who's just a nerd about cameras and specs and who knows how to memorized all the stop, in thirds and can tell you every menu item in a Sony A7S III. They're all, it's all going to be people who know lighting and no framing, and can create something good, and they just take the tool and do it.
Yeah,
I think the person whose opinion that I'd really like on this is Roger Deakins.
Yeah, 100%.
Could he-
Where
could
are
he-
you,
could he
Sir
pay a
Roger?
come on,
Western-
Roger. I would like to let because you embrace technology. The other thing that I would say also is don't forget that we have other things that are happening right now that also parallel some of that. Let's take a look at LED volumes and what's happening with that. And you take a look at Mandalorian. There's no reason why 5 years from now that it's not an Alexa LF and it's a device that's a 7 or a 10 or a 13-inch screen that has this technology around it. Think about what James Cameron is doing and what's happening there. Do we really need large camera systems with $40,000 or $50,000 lenses on it to do what they're doing once you get into LED volumes and that technology? Probably not in the future. And I would guess that it's going to become less and less important to have big fat glass on things. There's going to be qualities of that, but eventually they're going to be able to build that into the database as well. I want this to feel like Cook primes. I want it to feel like Canon FD lenses. And it'll be kind of shitty, and there'll be a lot of ranting for a while. And then eventually it's going to get so good that it's not going to be... people are going to be BSing you if they can say they can tell the difference, probably, at some point, right?
It's going to be just like digital video.
Yeah.
Everyone trashed it, or digital photos even for that matter, or stills cameras. Everyone gave it a hard time, and now shooting on a camera that shoots like 8K video is going to be like shooting on film. People are going to be like, "Oh man, went out this weekend and shot on digital video. Had to focus it manually, or
I got a hold of
the
this.
camera had to focus it. It was out of focus, and I couldn't do anything with it.
I don't know what happened. I picked up an Alexa LF for like $4,000, and it's really
$250 eventually.
$250. Yeah, 10 years from now. It's insane. That doesn't mean that Arri is going to go away as a company. I think that they're smart enough to be able to embrace things. They're already building LED volumes and stuff. For all we know, they're already building a camera system that doesn't have a lens, or doesn't have a lens in the typical way. I mean, they're not stupid. They see the future of filmmaking, and if you really think about it, the Alexa came out, 12 years ago now? They were really at the forefront of this, and everybody trashed it. And it took our friend, the real Roger Deakins, to shoot a couple of films like In Time and some other things to get to the point where, he's now said he doesn't even like film grain. It bothers him, which is kind of interesting, from somebody who comes from a historically traditional photography background. So it's I think it's I'm glad we're having this conversation, because I think something like the iPhone 13 Pro shows you the possibilities of the future. It doesn't mean it's technology I want to embrace yet. Do I want to play around with it? Absolutely. Am I going to start to use it day in and day out? No, but we're not that far off, kids. I think we're getting close. 5 years from now, we're going to be talking about all kinds of different things that are going to be so different than they are now. And I'm excited to see what happens.
Yep. It's going to be nuts.
Well, here we are. 2 minutes.
That's the only reason I want
the
the 13 is just to make a video on it and try it.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I'm excited.
But otherwise, I'm totally satisfied with my 11 Pro.
Yeah. I want to see what it's all about. I want to get into my hands and, check that thing out. But it's still not compelling enough for me to necessarily say I want to own it. I may eat crow and see a few videos in the next few weeks and just say, screw it. Because I don't have a 12 or an 11 or, I'm many generations back. I had 3-4 years, so I could definitely do an upgrade.
10.
But yeah. Yep.
I just want to borrow somebody's for a week.
That'd be great.
Which would never happen, because who can go without their phone without a week? David says, have you seen the dude that makes the deep fakes of Tom Cruise? Yeah, it's the same. Or at least Quarter Crew has done that. Have you seen that? It's nuts.
Yeah. Oh, it's insane.
Recreated Tom Cruise from scratch. Or the Luke Skywalker end of maybe I shouldn't say for the. Has anyone? I won't spoil it, but
Okay.
they've got some great videos where they've taken big shows and TV stuff that have been animated and like fixed it using deep fakes, and it looks better than the actual show and the actual movie. It's amazing.
We get a holy shit 1 hour gone. Thank you for the asterisks there, 360 grab, but I'm saying the word anyway. Might be the quickest episode so far. I would say it's been a quick episode because we've actually been talking about something that is actually means something for once in our lives. But I promise you by next
quality
week we'll be
content.
We'll be back to our normal shenanigans.
So with next week,
yes, sir.
I did a quick tracking check on all my stuff a couple of days ago from the Wish things, and it was all in country already, but then it has to go through customs. So one is in my hands already. The other one I would suspect will be here maybe tomorrow, maybe Monday.
It's not next week though, not for Caleb. I think we're at least 2 weeks away on Wish stuff.
I'm looking it up now.
I think it's going to be Wednesday the 29th is going to be our Wish reveal. That's what it's going to be. But by all means, figure out what you've received and sort it out. And, when we come back in on the 29th, that's when we've got to, say, here's what we love and hate and what we expected and didn't get, what we didn't expect and did get, and all that fun stuff. So is yours still coming in when, Caleb? Your audio went all silent.
Sorry.
There we go.
I just looked it up, and it might be here sooner. I'll keep you guys posted, but there's a chance it could be delivered next week. But it's giving me a range of September 12th to 26th.
Okay, let's just say it's going to be the 29th as our date right now for the Wish thing. And next week we'll hang out and chat about some more stuff. I enjoyed this chat actually. I thought it was a good one.
Yeah, it was good
to talk about. Yeah, I think we should talk a little bit more about future stuff. Let's talk about audio next week, and maybe if we think anything will change in terms of lighting over the next few years, because that could be a pretty interesting one too. So, gentlemen,
we should have Curtis on here one of these days.
I'd love to
talk about the future of audio.
That would be great.
He's such a great. He's a gentleman and a scholar, and just a great human being. So I would love to have him on the show.
And it was that picture that did the rounds on Twitter from the whichever party it was. Atmos, I think.
At the sushi place. Yeah.
Yeah, when we were all together, just such a happy, brilliant night that night, and it was very sad to think we've not done that for a while. But
I will tell you that the one reason I remember that night more than anything else is they had one particular Japanese whiskey up on the shelf, and we definitely finished it, and it was delicious, and I still haven't found it to this day, and maybe that's why. Maybe I don't remember the photograph as well as I should, because that was a fun night, kids. That was in the
no yachts.
Yeah. Yep.
No,
it was great.
It was amazing.
Good, clean
it was
fun.
All right, you guys are great. Love you, and we'll see you all next week. Come back for some more chat, and thank you for all of the super chats. I'm looking forward to drinking that bottle of whiskey next week on the show, and also looking forward to a few weeks from now. You know what we should do, Caleb? You'll have to tell us the date that you're back in your eating mode and everything you're doing. And I think we should just have like pizza and beers on that one or something like that.
Ooh, don't use that word.
See,
that P word.
Why?
Why? My stomach just went like.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Do you not think though you'll get to like week 7 and all of a sudden you'll just have this epiphany and you'll go, "This is the way I'm going to be from now on. I feel great.
I've already had that.
I'm not going back to the drinking.
I know
I'm not going
that
back to
360 grad. Nika and
ever since 2020
it was one of theirs.
We're off in the weeds now. There's 2 conversations happening.
Well, your stomach's going to be the size of like an English pea. It'll be like you'll have like this tiny stomach.
What? No, I got really sick in 2020. My doc thinks I had the what.
Yes.
Yeah. And then I saw a documentary while on a plane to Iceland right before the country shut down. And I'm like, I think I'm going to change the way I eat forever. But I'm not giving up pizza forever. Are you kidding me? Or drinking?
Hell no. A pizza you can't
sip
give
on some
up.
fine drams and eat some quality pizza here and there.
And just every once in a while.
Yeah.
And drink lots of water.
Enjoying the good things in life and not overdoing it. That's all. Yeah.
All right, kiddos. All the best. Nika, Suntory, whiskey, and good friends and company. See you next week. Bye, kids.